Accelerate your success by impacting your community. Tips to networking and success from Orange County business leaders.
My name is Robert Souza, and I am the host of the OC Impact Project podcast. Today, I have the privilege of interviewing co-founder Jordan Bartlett of Doing Good Works, which was founded in 2014. And since that time, Doing Good Works has been honored by Inc. magazine as one of the fastest growing private businesses in the United States. Welcome, Jordan, to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Rob.
Hey, we are so grateful to have you. Before we dig into your story, I'd like to explain why we selected you as a business leader in Orange County as Business Leader of the Week, and a few reasons why the OC Impact Project is so connected to you and your business. You even donated some backdrops for us, and we are promoting your company because it is personal. For me, my mom and dad were foster parents for over 35, 40 years before I was even born. They had 85 different kids over a 30-year period. And although I have two sisters, an older brother, 4 adoptive brothers and sisters, I had 80 more foster brothers and sisters that I lived with. And I've seen firsthand the trauma and the suffering that foster kids go through, not just in the foster care system, but through their entire lives. Helping these kids was my mother's life mission, and I believe that her life was cut short because of her sacrifices that she made to love on these kids. I believe that this is her legacy that she's left behind, and is why it's so personal to me and my family. And so it's my absolute privilege to have you here today. Welcome, Jordan, to the podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Being a good foster parent is probably one of the most difficult jobs anyone can take on. So the fact that they did it for that long says a lot about them. Yeah.
And despite how much sacrifice it was for our family and for my mother, the sacrifice that foster care kids go through and have to struggle through the rest of their lives is significantly more challenging than it was ever for us. I think as a family, we got probably more out of it than they did, and wish we could have made a greater impact, especially as they transitioned into adulthood, at which time we no longer have that same influence that we did when they were living with us.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate your ability to focus on that very forgotten segment of people. Yes, lots of people are aware foster kids need support, the industry needs support, but then they hit 18 and they literally, I've never heard of a support system beyond 18, of which you have creatively figured out a way to support this segment of people. And I was blown away when I read about it. But what motivated you or inspired you to start a for-profit merchandise business as an opportunity to help adults that have experienced the foster care industry?
Yeah, so I was adopted when I was young. So I had 2 amazing parents that had kids of their own, and were ready to kind of be finished with that part of their life. And then I came into their life, and they made the decision to make that sacrifice for me. So I was born and raised in Orlando, Florida. I went to college at Rollins College, and during my freshman year, I was walking through campus one day, and a lady walked up to me and said, "Hey, I'm your sister." And I didn't know anything about her. I'd never heard of her. I couldn't even respond in an intelligent way. I just kind of said, "Oh, okay." And then a few months later, she reached out on Facebook again and just said, "I'd love to connect." So I started to look through her profile and saw that she had a very different life. She had been in and out of the system. She had overcome addiction. She'd been incarcerated. She had overcome some things that I had never even thought about. So that got me thinking about, this world of foster care and, what could have been. So I graduated college. I got into the insurance industry. You thought, I'm going to sell all this insurance and I'll be rich one day and then maybe start a foundation. So came out to California to do insurance, and kept thinking about Stephanie, who's that sister, and some of the things that she had gone through, and like a lot of millennials, wanting to do something more meaningful. So in 2014, in February, I just told my boss, I want to go work with kids in the system. Didn't know what that meant. Just wanted to do it at that time. So got to know the nonprofits here in Orange County. Assumed that I would go work for a nonprofit and either in development or something like that. And quickly learned I didn't know anything about nonprofits. I didn't know how to run. I didn't know how to ask for a donation. Didn't know how to run a grant or write a grant. Didn't know how to create a program. So I had some understanding of the for-profit world. So I knew if we ran a good business, had a good product, and treated customers well, that would lead to revenue and job opportunities and resources. So I met someone else, Scott Henderson, who was on the same path. His wife was a court-appointed special advocate, so that was his connection to the system. And we met over in Irvine one day, and just said, let's start a business where we can, control the dollars coming in and out. We can control who we hire, and we can kind of control what we do with the business and how it gives back to the community. So we tried to sell coffee online. That was super expensive to ship. We tried to sell phone cases. That didn't work. Tried to start a staffing company. Really hard to do in California. So eventually we started asking, who's printing your t-shirts, and a couple of groups gave us an opportunity, and that led to, who does your business cards, or who does your drinkware. And we realized this is a, $24 billion industry of branded merchandise. So if we do it well and create a really good business, this can expand across the country, and is not dependent on Scott and I to fundraise or be kind of the face of the business. The business can kind of speak for itself and scale across the country and create jobs and create resources, and do it in a really big way. So that was kind of our aha moment of, this is kind of the model. Now, how do we grow it and, make it impactful, treat customers right, and help a lot of kids at the same time.
Yeah, and I love it because, there are so many great nonprofits out there that are hustling to raise funds. But in this particular model that you've thought of, created, and implemented, you've proven that you can create jobs. You don't have to fundraise. You're using the profits of a very valuable quality service that you can provide business owners, and simply use that as your funding source to increase your impact across the U.S. and I believe potentially can go international. So super excited. But I want to quantify exactly how you guys get back. And so I just wanted to help our listeners understand that doing good works, they employ adults that have graduated out of the foster care system, and then you reinvest profits back into the foster care industry. Is that correct?
Yeah, we do those two things, and then we also give all of our employees time. We do 20% of our time, so one day a week is available to mentor, whether it's our team, our interns, or out in the community. So I'm a court-appointed special advocate as well. So there's some days when I go to court at 9 a.m. and, well, not during COVID, but pre-COVID.
Right.
And that case might not get called till the afternoon. So we've kind of built that into our business to allow our employees the room to mentor and be a part of the lives of young people as well.
Which is so scalable, because if you train one individual who understands what people are going through, and they can help multiple people, and then retrain someone else, and you can duplicate that process, the scalability is incredible, which is probably why you guys were selected as the fastest growing private business. So help us better understand what a B corporation, and why you chose to incorporate what's called a benefit corporation. I think most people haven't heard about that.
Yeah. So there's two different things which sound alike. So it does get a little bit confusing. So when we incorporated as a business in 2015, actually today's the 6-year anniversary of this incorporation. We incorporated as a benefit corporation. So we get taxed similar to a for-profit, an S or a C Corp. But it means that we have, as owners of the business, we can make decisions that support social and or environmental causes, and and not focus all of our profits on increasing shareholder value. So it's really written into the bylaws that doing good is part of the business, which is a little bit different from kind of standard for-profits where,
Right.
their fiscal responsibility is to make as much money for the shareholders as possible. In March of last year, we got certified by a third party as a B Corp. So there's an organization called B Labs, and I think they're based in Philadelphia, and they actually do a full audit of your business, and they'll come in and they'll look at your employee handbook, all of your processes and procedures, your vendors, what you do with your profits, who you're hiring, what your hiring practices are, just really every part of the business. It's a very thorough and difficult audit. And they come in and they give you a score, and if you get over 80 on that score, then you're certified as a B Corp. So that's gaining a lot of speed. I think it's in just about every state now. There's probably about 4,000 B Corps out there. So they're doing a really good job with the marketing side of that, to kind of tell everybody that this is the stamp you get, and if you see that stamp, you know that they've gone through a pretty rigorous assessment to show that they are doing good in the community. So we got that in March of last year, right when everything kind of shut down.
So are there specific benefits that the government gives to B corporations versus your normal corporation?
It's still, there's very little case law against it. So it's still very theoretical. So there's not a whole lot of like, this is exactly what you need to do. There's no tax benefits. We get taxed the same way as any other for-profit organization. So it's still kind of being worked through the system, and still in its very early days. There are some groups like LA County will give a 15% credit on the bid process. So if you bid on an LA County project and you're a social enterprise or a benefit corporation, then they'll give you a 15% credit on that bid. So there's starting to be some more things like that, but there's really not a kind of standard that's seen even across the state. So it is very new, and they're still trying to kind of wrap their head around it.
Well, it sounds like you're being a pioneer in this particular issue, and I think that it would encourage more businesses to consider giving back more and becoming a benefit corporation. And I hope that we can help amplify that message to others. But can you give us some real life examples of how your business has impacted the adults that either work for you or have benefited from the reinvestment of profits that have come out of the foster care system?
Yeah, there's a couple of examples. So when we first started in 2014, we used to spend one day a week over at the Orangewood Children's Foundation, and we would just sit in their resource center, and anybody that wanted to come in and talk about resumes or job training or anything like that, we would just be there. A lot of times that turned into mentoring conversations more than anything employment related. But one day a young lady walked in, and she had a resume, and she was interested in what we do, and she just had an amazing, heartbreaking story of what she had overcome in and out of the system. She was originally in Texas, just really bad physical and mental abuse that she had overcome, and put herself through college. She had had a daughter over Thanksgiving break while she was in class and never missed a day. Just an amazing story of tenacity. So we hired her. We had no business hiring anybody. We just started the business. And she would just pick up the phone and cold call like nothing I've ever seen. Like she would cold call like Michael Dell when we told her we want to work with Dell computers. So just a unique ability to pick up the phone. And unfortunately, we did hire too early. We again didn't have the revenue to kind of maintain that. So we helped her get another job. She went and worked with another social enterprise and eventually made it over to Bear Paint. She was with Bear Paint for about 5 years. And I was happy to say that we actually got to bring her back on the team about a month ago. So
wow, that's great.
Yeah. So she's back in in another sales role. And we've never had more meetings than we've had in the last month, because she is again, just picking up the phone and calling anybody and everybody that's a B Corp and saying, I'm the reason this business is here. So our sales team is made up of 3 young women that have spent time in care or as homeless youth, and none of them have any promotional product or branded merchandise experience, but they can sell the mission like nobody's business. So that makes up our entire sales team, are those three: cold calling and telling people about the mission. So it's powerful.
Well,
It's really cool to hear them tell the story and hear them get excited and talk to really cool companies that want to do good. So it helps your bottom line as much as it helps, every other part of your life. So
you just partially answered my next question and set me up perfectly. Was, do you believe there's a correlation between the philanthropic, the mission of helping adults who've come out of foster care? How has that impacted the growth and scalability of your for-profit company? Now, of course, you're reinvesting some of those profits, but do you believe there's a correlation between doing good and philanthropy and business growth?
100%. We work with some organizations that we would have no business even talking to if we weren't, a B Corp and we weren't kind of doing what we say we do. So from that standpoint of other people wanting to connect with B Corps, that definitely gets us in the door. The biggest part by far that helps the bottom line, though, are the level of talent it attracts. I think a lot of people have a similar mindset to what I have of, if I've learned how to be really good at my job, but if I want to do something different and make an impact, I have to quit and start over in nonprofit. So the fact that we have marketing roles and we have sales roles and we have customer service roles, that it allows people to bring their expertise and their purpose together, which is where I think that really shines. So we have some just amazing people that, work incredibly hard. They learn the business. They don't always have, experience in this industry. So they do a great job of learning the business. And the team we've attracted is 100% because of the mission. So I would put our team up against anybody. And the sole reason that we've been able to track the level of talent we have is because we do good and we actually do the stuff we say we do versus, putting up a CSR report once a year.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. And there are many different reasons why for-profit businesses participate in philanthropy, but would you continue to give back to the foster care industry or philanthropy, even if there was no direct benefit to your company whatsoever?
For sure. Yeah. They're just amazing young people that have, come through a system that doesn't allow them to kind of connect to the real world. That connection to job opportunities, to, people that can help them, which is something that I had with my parents. It's just not there. It is a forgotten population in a lot of cases. But when you break through that, and there's a level of trauma that sometimes puts up a wall, causes a little bit of that fight or flight reaction. But once you get through that, they're just such amazing young people. And I've been a CASA now, court appointed special advocate, for 6 or 7 years now. My wife has been one for 6 years. There's nothing like it. I think we're starting to learn a little bit more about what trauma does to kids, and ways to overcome it. And we're realizing that the behaviors that are shown aren't who that person is. It's based on, what happened to them in the past. So I think that is kind of opening up, these aren't bad kids at all. They're not in foster care for anything that they've done. There's things that happen to them and they show some of those behaviors because of that trauma. So I think becoming more aware of that trauma is opening up other people to come and get involved with kids, whether it helps their business or not. So, I would encourage everyone to get involved some way, whether it's, becoming a CASA, starting a business, or, donating to like a luggage drive or something like that.
Right.
It's just a population of amazing young people that can change your life.
Yeah, it's amazing. We work with several organizations, and with my personal history and experience with foster brothers and sisters, I understand that often people just need one person to step out and give them an opportunity, give them a chance. And that first person who steps out and gives them opportunity, whether it's an adult coming out of foster care, a parolee who cannot get a job anywhere, a veteran who's experiencing PTSD and can't seem to handle the anxiety and stress of working in the corporate environment. There's so many ways that companies can intervene and give back. And the idea in our company of this phrase from this Chinese phrase called guanxi, and I hope I pronounced it correctly, but this idea that if you first give or contribute and serve the community will give back to you tenfold. And I truly believe that. You're a living example of that. And that's why we wanted to feature you on today's podcast. As we wrap up, if you had one piece of advice that you could give to business owners in Orange County to help them scale and accelerate their business growth and succeed, what would that be?
Do what you're saying you're doing, for one, because your employees are all watching. And I think the three areas that you can really make a huge impact are who you hire, who your vendors are, and then what you do with the profits. So I think those are three areas that completely can change your business if you do them the right way. So, look for people that are in that vendor space that are doing good, because that's a way for you to kind of do good on behalf of them. Hiring from underrepresented populations isn't hard. You have to kind of understand trauma, and there's some different ways to do that, but it's going to help your business tenfold. And then find organizations where you can, your profits can make a huge impact. There's a lot of, like you said, a lot of amazing nonprofits in Orange County doing some really good things. So I think if you start to look at who you're hiring, who your vendors are, and where the profits go, I think you can really make a huge impact with your business. And that's going to help. It's going to help your bottom line. You're going to attract better talent, and your customers are going to notice as well.
Yeah, and I personally couldn't agree more with you. I mean, when we saw what you were doing, which I'd never seen before, the first thing I did immediately was send an email to our office business manager and told her switch all printing, all merchandising. Let's get it switched over. We're spending the money anyways. Why not choose a vendor that's making a greater impact and supporting the community when it's the same dollar you'd spend somewhere else and another company would use it as profit? Yeah. So I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that enhances the impact that we can make. It's not just the money we give or the time we give, but it's also who we choose to do business with. And I think that's phenomenal advice. So I appreciate it. We're going to list all of the resources and opportunities that our listeners can support all of the projects that you're working on and your company itself. But I'd like to give you a minute just to share for a moment what doing good works is about, and how, if they choose to doing business with you, some of the benefits that you bring to the table and how they can get in contact with you.
Yeah. So everything we do is to lead with the mission. So we want to, impact young people that are aging out of foster care, but we know that the business is the reason for that. So we treat our customers really well. The pricing is in line. Can really get anything with a logo on it. So there's millions of different products out there. So we have product specialists that can find the right ones for you. Really do a lot of leveraging of technology. So with employees remote right now, we've got different ways to kind of bring things in, kit them up, and drop ship them to individual employees. So you don't have to go through the process of getting everyone's addresses and things like that. So it helps you stay in contact with a remote workforce that's still trying to figure it out. So we've got a lot of different ways to really help you connect to your customers, your employees, and all your other stakeholders within the business. So we've got a lot of really good products that also give back. So some B Corps are in the promo space now. So we've got, like, this T-shirt is made out of recycled water bottles and organic cotton, and so the products that we sell also tell a story. So we find products and solutions that align with your brand story, as well as our customers are a part of our story as well. So we put the customer first, treat them right, have the right pricing. You can find us at doinggoodworks.com. on Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn as well. So love to connect with as many people as possible.
Well, that's great. And then we'll get a list of all those vendors that you use in support of also their causes as well. We'll list them all down below. We encourage everybody to like and share, of course, to spread the message, because you are spreading doing good works, and that mission can be applied to any business and to any individual anywhere. And obviously, you're a perfect example of the success that brings to others and also then to you. So I'm so grateful for you joining us today. And we will definitely be working together in the future, and hopefully we'll bring you back. I appreciate you joining us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Rob.
This podcast is sponsored by the AFI Group, who's developed a financial literacy program to help families reduce debt, save more, and reduce taxes to increase the average family's lifetime income by more than $1 million. The AFI Group is currently donating this program to organizations that want to help their employees improve their financial wellness. If you'd like to learn more, click on the link below to schedule a 15-minute phone call, or just simply text 949-377-0028.